Tall whites, extraterrestrial space aliens, witnessed inspecting a fresh crop circle in England. And the witness was a British policeman. And we're going to see an image of what he describes them as. Not many people know this, but back in 2009, a British police officer witnessed alien beings inspecting a fresh crop circle in the middle of a field. And obviously, a policeman, of course, would not be making this up. The police sergeant, who has not been named, witnessed the event back in 2009. The policeman was off duty at the time when he noticed the unusual beings in the field. The police officer pulled his car over and walked over to the field to see what was going on, as he apparently had a strange feeling about what he was seeing. However, as he approached these men, quote unquote, who were all the way over 6 feet tall with long blonde hair, he suddenly heard, quote, the sound of static electricity, end quote, on the trio, and the trio ran away faster than any man had ever seen, so fast that it apparently almost seemed unreal, he said. Leaving the scene of the strange event, the police officer jumped quickly back into his car and traveled back home to Marlborough, Wiltshire, and then contacted paranormal experts and told them he had spotted a UFO. Not surprisingly, the police force that the officer works for, refused to comment at the time and stated that it was a personal matter, quote unquote. The unnamed police officer asked for support of a gentleman called Andrew Russell, who is a crop circle investigator. Andrew described in detail what the police officer saw on that unusual day. He said, at first he thought they were forensic officers as they were dressed in white overalls. He stopped his car and approached the field. The figures were all over 6 feet and had blonde hair. They seemed to be inspecting the crop. When he got to the edge of the field, he heard what he believed to be the sound not dissimilar to static electricity. This crackling noise seemed to be running through the field, and the crop was moving gently, close to where the noise was. He shouted to the figures who at first ignored him, not glancing at him. When he tried to enter the field, they looked up and began running away. He said, they run faster than any man I have ever seen. I'm no slouch, but they were moving so fast, I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, they were gone. I then got scared, the policeman said. The noise was still around, but I got an uneasy feeling and headed for the car. For the rest of the day, I had a pounding headache and I couldn't shift, he said. This strange incident happened on July 6th. As a police officer was driving down the road, apparently the three were very tall figures and they were inspecting the odd-shaped crop circle in the field. They all appeared deeply interested in analyzing the crop circle. Was it them who made it, or possibly was it their fellow colleagues from afar? Now, the crop circle had been there in the field for a few days before this incident. When the police officer walked over the unusual beings, they suddenly became disturbed looking and ran off at speeds beyond the officer's belief. And as soon as he looked away for a split second, they were gone. A spokesman for Wiltshire Police said, the police officer was apparently off duty when this happened, so we have no comment to make because it is a personal, not a police matter. Another crop circle expert, Colin Andrews, who investigated the incident alongside Andrew Russell, said he is convinced by the police officer's story and does not see any reason at all why the officer would have made this story up. He said, I'm quite convinced the officer had an experience that day and one that we have not fully explored. He said, I think that with the unusual movement of the being and the poltergeist experience, there is too much additional information to say that is something in nothing, he said. Some have suspected that it was the tall white aliens, as the officer had witnessed. The tall whites have ever been acknowledged by Edward Snowden, who believes that they are very much in contact with planet Earth and watching our every move. This is the same thing that former Defense Minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer, keeps on lecturing about. Now, UIP summary. It's very interesting that the sighting was in Wiltshire, as is one of the key UFO crop circle areas around the world. Could it possibly be that this police officer saw what he saw were beings who are responsible for these crop circles being formed around the UK, or perhaps they're just as curious as we are as to what else is out there trying to communicate with Earth? Yes, crop circles have been deemed by many to be elaborate fakes by students or farmers, but what you actually look at, when you look at the sheer amount of detail found in these incredible designs, I personally feel it's impossible for any human to create such a spectacle overnight in the pitch black of night. As far as what or who these beings are is a completely different matter altogether. The way that they have been described sounds just like the tall white aliens, extraterrestrials, and the way they move would kind of confirm that there were no oddball humans, but something else, something very unique and different. Is it a coincidence that one of the most unknown areas of the world, Stonehenge, is in Wiltshire, and that we have so many unusual sightings in this part of the UK? I don't think so, but this is why this part of the world is one of the top UFO hotspots. And this is on Humans Be Free. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.